Guyanese, hey, what make we so stupid? I wonder. Guyanese like myself, yes. Why we so foolish? And I want to tell you. Imagine we put we leaders there in the government and turn we back from them like we don't care how taxpayers' money spent. With all the corruption that taking place, we is the ones we blame. While them are thief. We just sit down like if we lame. But this God don't sleep. No, he don't sleep. By the time I done sing me kai so, I know you're gonna agree with me that he don't sleep. Jehovah not sleep. One day the same bad seed that them sow, it's that they gonna reap. Under this party, politicians thieving at will. Under this party, them not care, they're doing it still. Under this party, all the big contracts are go to them friend. Under this party, them forgetting the longest rope of an end. But if we the people can come together and stand up for what is right, put aside we indifference and start unite. Politicians would know them damn place and work with honesty. Then boom, Guyana would rise and have a vibrant economy. Ding dang diddy do dang dunga day. Whoa, dee da dee da ding ding diddy diddy do dang dunga day. Whoa, da 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 do. Guyanese, open your eyes, yes. Guyanese like myself, hey, it's time we get wise. Imagine we finance minister, auditor is the wife. It's like putting cat for watch bill. How could that be right then? Claim them $38 million and buy a old water cannon truck. And on the first two out in the go fund instead it work. The truck just drops. But this God don't sleep. No, he don't sleep. In any developed country, clear balls would have feel the heat, but he don't sleep. Jehovah not sleep. One day, the same bad seed that them sow, it's that they gonna reap. Under this party, corruption rising high. Under this party, man get killed execution style. Under this party, the trustworthiness starting to decline. Under this party, that's why Ralph Ramkaran had to resign. Them and see and talk about corruption going on inside the own camp. Hey! Hey, Guyanese, hey, what make we so stupid? I wonder. Guyanese like myself, yes. Why we so foolish? And I want to tell you. Imagine we put we leaders there in the government and turn we back from them like we don't care how taxpayers' money spent. With all the corruption that taking place, we is the ones we blame. While them are thief. We just sit down like if we lame. But this God don't sleep. No, he don't sleep. By the time I done sing me kai so, I know you're gonna agree with me that he don't sleep. Jehovah not sleep. One day the same bad seed that them sow, it's that they gonna reap. under this party. Politicians thieving a bill under this party. Them not kids doing it still under this party. All the big contracts are go to them friend under this party. Them forgetting the longest rope of an end. But if we the people can come together and stand up for what is right, put aside we indifference and start unite. Politicians would know them damn place and work with honesty. Then boom, Guyana would rise and have a vibrant economy.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street, in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins Firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins Firm.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
All right, good evening. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. My name is Mark Benchop. It's the 9th day of May, and what is it? It's straight up. Good evening to all of you, especially those folks on the ground who are listening to us via 107.1 FM on the bandwidth, whether you're in your taxis, in your little guard hut, wherever you are listening to us from, or those of you on social media. Good evening to all of you. We are broadcasting via 107, and I repeat, via 107.1 FM on the ground. I thought for a moment that we weren't going to be able to broadcast via social media because we are doing some work. Our operators or technical guys are doing some work via the website, and they are trying to incorporate live videos as well on the website. It's www.benchopradio or benchopfm.com. So if you check it out there, you'll be able to watch live videos, live shows, and also comment. And this will reduce the frequency in which our shows, especially those shows with musical shows, are being cut off. The Killer Miller show and so forth, and the other shows. So we want to bring a better platform for you guys. So please be patient with us, and as we go through some technical problems time during the course of this week. All right, so what's happening? We thank you so much for sharing the link as we prepare for tonight's program right here on 107.1 FM. Let's begin. And again, thank you much for sharing the link. We have some very important information for you as to the happenings in Guyana. And hopefully, Lemon will get that big 107.1 FM stuff away from my face so you guys will be able to see what I look like this evening. Okay? And yes, I'm battling a little cold. And for some reason, I'm still battling the cold. So, yet, I'm glad to be on this evening, even under the circumstances. Good evening again to all of you. Let's go to Studio B and find out what's on the mind of our one of our favorite operators, because you know we have several of them. Lemon happens to be one. Lemon, good evening, and how are you?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm fine. How are you, Mark?
Good, thank you. I hope you had an enjoyable Mother's Day, but it's really good to hear from you today. It's good to see that you turned up at work, looking all spick and span in Studio B. We know you had a great Mother's Day. I know lots of you mothers out there have enjoyed it as well. It's really nice to be back, and it's good to see all of you, especially in the comments section. Good night to all of you. So let's begin. What's bothering you? Several things in Guyana. It's bothering a lot of people, but what specifically is bothering you, Lemon? Let's get to you.
Yes, what bothers me really is the way they treating Trevor Ben with the no confidence motion they filed against him. You know, he's doing a wonderful job. So I can understand why you want to get him out of there.
Okay, so he's doing a wonderful job. Can you give three things? I know you've been following Trevor Ben, and that's the issue, so that we can let our listeners know that Trevor Ben is under attack. That has been trending all day by some folks who are doing the biddings of the PPP. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But Lemon, quickly, let's get your take on the good works that Trevor Ben has been doing since he's been there as chairman of the Guyana Public Service Credit.
Yes,
The Guyana,
revive the credit union, bring it back to where it's supposed to be. You know, the small people that loans. So he's doing a wonderful job.
Yep. So you think it's unfair with this this ridiculous, this fraudulent, no confidence motion attempt?
Very much unfair. Very much unfair.
Indeed. Lots of people share that very sentiment. But let's move on from that. I will be talking a little bit more about the Trevor Ben situation at the Guyana Public Service Credit Union and those individuals who have launched an attack on him. And their attack against Trevor Ben has been actually, it's the brainchild of the PPPC and coupled with some individuals who are power drunk within that questionable grouping. But go right ahead. What else is bothering you? We noticed that people out in Linden, they've had their homes bulldozed.
Yes, and that's the next thing with the people in Linden, the way they in the store regime bulldoze their home, the farmers, and that's wrong. And people have to come out and start protesting. Come out.
One of the things that if
don't sit back and take it. Come out.
People may come out if they see our elected officials head out there instead of sitting down.
You don't have to wait for elected officials. You come out. The people, the community, come out.
I know, but it's easy. It's easier, Lemon. Let me say this to you, as a veteran protester. It is easy to say, let the people go out. If the people don't see leadership going out, whether it's the MPs or the leadership of their respective parties heading out there, sometimes people say, what's the use? But I get your point and that's a lot of the politicians, because when they come on social media, that is the very line they use, that the people have to go out and the people are not going out. Well, if you're not going out as an elected official, why the heck you expect the people to go out? Motivate the people, talk to the people. But while we are saying let the people go out, there are some within the leadership who feel that the people shouldn't go out. They feel that they should play cautious politics, and I don't know.
When the people protesting for their interests, it's not the politician interest, because the politician, they don't want to do anything. Come out and protest.
What would you have done?
I will hold my placard and go out there and protest. If
Okay.
I myself, I will go there and protest by myself.
Oh, you would have done that. And what do you
Yes.
say specifically and directly to the folks in Guyana who are watching, who are listening, and you are telling them to go out? But they are going out, though. We see them at the all-white boat ride, hundreds of them out
Yeah.
there.
On
Oh,
all right boat ride, and that's that's it.
the,
When the all right boat ride with the first lady, the so-called first lady, you know.
why do you
And
why do you suppose though that as much as we have been calling on the people to go out, it's a waste of time to calling on the members of parliament to go out because most of them want sweet boy and sweet girl job. They just want to draw their $250,000 at the end of the month on the false pretense. They don't go out. Most of them are lazy. They peep. They go to the other jobs and they just have no regards for this job that they have as a member of parliament. So they don't go out. They sit on social media and think that that is sufficient. But why do you suppose they're not going out, sir?
well, you know what? The people shouldn't speak about that. You know, if they can't do the job, get rid of them. Put somebody else there who's willing to go out there and fight for us.
All right. Anything else bothering you before we go, Lemon?
A lot of things bother me, but I don't just before I say anything, I don't want to disrespect anybody, so I'm going to go ahead with the program tonight, and I'm going to go back to work in the studio B to fix this problem.
You're not disrespecting anybody, but do you see a form of racism or blatant racism in bulldozing those people's houses and their farmlands in Linden?
Very, very much racism because it was in Bath, Port Baron, they wouldn't do that. But it's Linden, they have no respect for the people of Linden. And I can't understand why the people of Linden is taking this. And if a minister comes in town, all of them running behind the minister. No. Let them know. We don't want you guys here.
All right, quickly before we let you go back to work, the doctor who worked at night shift as a security guard, she was on the program that I did earlier today. What is your take on the doctor who became a guard for a few months? Your take on the discrimination against her?
Well, again, the wicked regime. If the woman, the doctor is trying to want to work for them for 2 months for free. Let her work for free and release her. They're just wicked. The regime is just wicked.
They're just wicked. Thank you so much, Lemon. We appreciate your time. Head back in the studio so that we can get the technical stuff up and running. Thank you, and have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you there.
Bye-bye.
All right. You've heard the famous operator, Lemon, actually telling us, saying and telling us as it is. Oftentimes that's what happens, right? And just remember that for those of you who maybe you're driving and you don't, you can't listen to us via Facebook. Those of you outside of Guyana, that is, if you're in Georgetown, you can catch us via 107.1 FM. We have our technical crew. They're currently on the site, Benchop Radio. Sorry about that. It's, let me give you the exact, it's benshopfm.com, right? benshopfm.com. And you're able to go there. You'll get me loud and clear. And I know our technical guy, Josh, is able to have you see me live right here via video as well. So lots of improvements at this end. And we thank you guys so much for your patience as well. So in moving on tonight's program, you've heard about this story with a doctor who was forced to work as a security guard, compliments of the wicked and very vindictive PPP regime. This is exactly what has happened. We've dealt with this matter earlier. And so she basically did the night shift as a security guard. But there are other matters that we want to deal with. And again, another one has to do with, sorry about that. Another one has to do with Trevor Ben. You guys have heard that matter as well. And we're getting some messages coming in. And one individual, one of our sources at the Guyana Public Service Credit Union, is actually saying that this is a power drunk move and it's aided and abetted by the PPPC. So we're hoping that good sense will prevail and those power drunk individuals at the Guyana Public Service Credit Union who are challenging Trevor Ben will be able to withdraw that comical no confidence motion with no value, with no weight against Trevor Ben, and let the members of the credit union get back on track and are able to breathe again. That's what it's about. All right, I'm looking at some of your comments. I want to hear what some of you are thinking about what's happening in Guyana. I noticed there's a photograph with, Barrett Jack Dale and Aubrey Norton. They seem to have been in a mini confrontation about elections and about debating each other and so forth. I don't know at this point in time to sit and debate each other how much that's going to add value to the plight of the people on the ground, the people out in Linden who are going through what they are going through. The credit unions are under attack, democracy under attack, and all these manner of things. And nevertheless, we want to see and to hear our politicians go on the ground and see what's happening to flooding across the quarantine in villages such as Port Morant, Alness, Lancaster, Liverpool, Evesham, that is, Epsom, and so forth and so on. Those are the things that we want to see. We want to hear these things. And oftentimes, politicians like to hear themselves. They want to debate each other. And people are actually going through a heck of a lot in that country. We know what's happening with our folks out there in Linden. We know what's happening to the folks in New Amsterdam, all over. But like the doctor said earlier, that the PPP regime is all about hampers and hampers and hampers. They feel that the more hampers they give out, the good they are going to look, right? And they want to be able to go out there and brainwash people, right? That's what it's about, brainwash people. I get your position here, Mr. Caesar. Wayne Caesar is saying they don't want any debate. Guyanese are tired of the dictators. Guyanese are tired of the PPP dictators, indeed. And I don't see how much value a debate with dictators is going to add, because essentially, people have already concluded. People have already seen what these PPP vagabonds are about. And any form of so-called debate is just basically some bites for individuals to just gaff with each other. Meanwhile, the people are going through a heck of a lot in the country. If you're now joining us this evening, good evening. It's a live show. Yes, it's the 9th day of May, 2022. And I have no guest on tonight because I just wanted to go solo and talk to you guys, see what's bothering you. We got our usual listener, Christine Figueroa, all the way in Linden. She's listening to us. Thank you so much, Christine. And we're glad that you're able to join us this evening, as you do almost every evening, right here on 107.1 FM. This is quite funny. And I'm reading some of the comments here so that folks who are listening to us on the ground that would be able to or via our website. If you have gone on the website, tell us a little bit about the improvements that you're seeing. But Renee Mackenzie Talbot, she's saying the Pampers is putting monies into pathetic parasite pastiles equal PPP cult supporters. I assume she's talking about the hampers and not necessarily Pampers, but you know, and checking some more of your comments here. Sandra Steele seemed to be on with us as well. And Sandra Steele is saying that basically what they're doing is Sandra Steele, brainwash and fool the people. We get that. Brainwash and fool the people, indeed. I noticed some folks are attempting to get me via WhatsApp. We don't usually take calls via WhatsApp. Some folks are persistent in calling, but I'm not sure what this caller has in mind. But let us find out what is bothering this caller, and especially back in Guyana. Yes, caller. Good evening and welcome to Straight Up. What's bothering you tonight?
Good. A lot of things is bothering me, especially what is taking place in Linden. I personally feel it's time people to start feeling each other pain. Because if people are going to stand by and allow the government to install a regime of death to bulldoze people's homes, and the community has not rise up against that, their turn is coming. People in Guyana have to learn one thing. The land that's here in Guyana belongs to the people of Guyana. And there was a law by Lyndon Fox Thompson Burner which said occupy and apply. Infant Ali's going around the world and calling on farmers to come and invest in Guyana. And he's not investing in the citizens of Guyana, especially the youth. Under Lyndon Fox Thompson Burnham, education was free from nursery to university, with Barack Jagdeo is a beneficiary of that. And he turned around and take that away from the masses. And I'm speaking to the people tonight. The people need to wake up and understand what is taking place. Because if education has to be paid for, and people is being paid starvation wages, it means that the children will be uneducated and will be slaves and subservient to the usurpers that are being invited there to exploit the resources of Guyana. The resources of Guyana belongs to all Guyanese. And I'm calling on the mothers, stop allowing your children to be punks. The boy children are supposed to be warriors. They're supposed to be vanguard of their wives and protectors of their community and their children. If you all continue to stand by and allow these punks to treat you all like that, there's no future for the people of Guyana. And this is not something just against the black people. The Indians have to understand they're in this boat also, because these people are trying to establish a hierarchy of which you have a certain class of people that's filthy rich, with high security forms and these type of stuff, which is basically military. It's military or some militias, private militias, waiting for the people to rise up that they will enforce the bidding of Jagdeo. I'm calling on the member of parliament who's sitting on the high horse, especially two of them that we are showing show every day. They need to get down into the communities, start speaking to the people, start organizing the people, mobilize the people, have the balls to stand up and do what they're standing up for. Guyana is for Guyanese, it's not for Europeans. Guyana is not run by foreign ambassadors. Guyana is supposed to run by Guyanese. And if the installed regime is doing the bidding of those who install them, well, then we have to remove them. We have to remove them. And I'm calling on the citizens of Guyana to take your rightful place. That country is yours. Right, Jagdeo and his gang, take where you live, where you live. More than enough land in that country for everybody. All those who come to get gold concessions and all this type of stuff, I'm calling people again. You don't go and dig the gold wherever you want to dig. You don't have to get no concession. You go cut the wood wherever you want to cut it. You don't have to get no permission. That's your country. You want to die there. Stand up as men and women. Stop raising your children by children of punk. We know the women are fighters. I'm calling on the women to encourage your children to stand up. Otherwise, you're going to be defeated. That's what I have to say to this election.
You seem to be on track with a lot of things. But what is your take on the bravery of the PPP to move into Linden and bulldoze those houses without any sort of challenge at all? What is your take on that and their agenda?
Life has taught me one thing. Nobody can do anything to you without your permission. Nobody can do anything without your permission. People have to understand one thing. We all born to live through a cycle and we all die. And no man is better than no man, and no man should live above no man. And the fact that the PNC harboring that balls to go to a place like Linden, that's total disrespect for the community of Linden. Total disrespect. I don't want to take it along a racial line that is because of the black people. They just want to conquer Linden. And the only reason why they're moving like that, because the member of parliament in Linden are weak people. Like Figueroa especially. I'll call him by his name. He are weak. Because if he were a real leader there, he could have raised 200-300 people to surround that house, and the house is going to be breaking down. They said, "Let me one in the red hat, let me one in the red hat." You know what? One in the red hat is a punk. Because if he break down the people's house, he shouldn't have no house that I can live in. It's simple as that. But they don't have leaders. And the people don't want to rise up without leaders. Leaders don't mean you have to go to front. Leaders mean to inspire your people, educate your people to the reality so they can understand what is taking place. That's leadership. Inspiration. If there was leadership in Linden, they would never risk that. They would never risk that. I'm speaking to the people. I'm calling on the people of Linden. I'm speaking to people like Nigel London. Organize the people in Linden. You have to start keeping meetings. You have to let people know if you can't find a reason to die, you don't have a reason to live. You don't have a reason to be all die in the end. And you got people that are educated in your place, like in from the alley, who can't even speak, who have no vision. You got people like Brad Jack, who's a kleptomaniac, running around there, with orders to rob it. And y'all standing by and accepting that? No. From here forward, it's time to door-to-door meeting, time to house meeting, time to street corner meeting, time to organize, mobilize, and conquer. The PPP must go. I'm calling all racial bands to get rid of these criminals. They must go.
All right. Thank you so much, caller. Appreciate your time and appreciate your input indeed. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. You've heard that. That's quite a mouthful indeed, coming from that caller. The caller is of the view, and I agree with that person. I agree with what Lemon said earlier as well. I agree with this caller as well, that the opposition members of parliament, they need to do more. They're not doing. They are letting the people down. And it's unfortunate. They are letting the people down. And there are a few of the fighters indeed that we see, just a few of them, we could count them. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they are not a few who are working in the opposition as opposition MPs and so forth. The truth of the matter is, though, the bulk of them are not working. The bulk of them are not representing the people's interests. They're just not doing that. And when we see them, they're oftentimes reactionary politicians, right? They wait until a matter, they wait until something happens, and then they put themselves on the scene, if ever they reach on the scene. But when they reach on the scene, they ensure that the cameras are on them, and they do the little camera tricks, and they disappear. That's it. I'm saying again, I've been around for a while now, right? And I've been in politics for a while now, and I understand what real representation is to the people. It simply means that you've got to, and I'm seeing a lot of comments, boots on the ground. It simply means that you've got to put your boots on the ground. You've got to be brave enough to put on your boots and go out there. And if you're not brave enough to represent the people, well, don't sit and pretend as though you're representing them while collecting monies under false pretense. And that is what most of them are doing. Their hearts are not on the job. They are not with representing the people. And I've been saying this for a while. They just want to play sweet boy and sweet girl politics. Think that jumping on social media, on Facebook, and gossip and talk. Don't come on social media and tell us what we already know. You need to point in a different direction. You need to create that path. You need to show people that you are leaders. And this is not confined to one particular person. This is not attacking Aubrey Norton. Aubrey Norton is one man. Aubrey Norton is the leader. But if you're not surrounded by competent people, for the most part, well, then your leadership will be considered and deemed as ineffective. And so what happens is that Aubrey Norton needs that strong team so that when he's unable to go to any region, his team is already there to prop him up. It is what you call strong leadership. And we're not seeing the members of parliament who are willing to go out there and get this job done. A lot of them get upset because they want you, like I've said on many occasions, they want you to hug them up, kiss them up, gyrate them, or whatever else to them, to put mala around their necks and so forth. And when they sit on social media, they want you to comment and love them up. Nice job, great job. You're looking great. You're looking nice. You're looking, And I'm not about that. I'm just not. I'm sick and tired of these weak opposition politicians, these weak opposition MPs. We're not seeing a lot of them. And a lot of them get vexed when we talk. They get vexed when I say these sort of things because they expect for me to come and put their photographs up and prostrate to them and call them honorable this, honorable that. Some of them, if you don't call them honorable, they get vexed. They're upset. They're about titles. They're honorable and they're this and they're that and all manner of things. If the coalition is serious about winning an elections, then they've got to get their acts together. Those members of parliament who are weak, who are incompetent, who are incapable to execute their duties, or who don't know what their purpose is as an elected official. If they don't know, then they should resign. There are other persons on the list who might be far more effective. And here's where I'll support this. If there are others on the list who are far more capable and who have the energy to do the job, then those who are weak right now, they should resign. Or there should be a grading process with those who are working as an MP, not other jobs. If you can't bring people together in your own region, if you can go on the ground in your own region and bring back these stories to us, what is happening in Region 1? I know Mr. Cox has been working, and I salute Mr. Cox. He's been doing a lot. Can he do more? Yes, he can do more. Can all of them do more? And then we have Region 2, Essequibo, who Sherwin Holder, he's the he's the chairman of the PNCR. We need to know what's happening in Essequibo as well. We just can't wait until there's some sort of unfortunate situation and when we see these guys and then they come out and so forth. We need those regions to be exposed. What is happening in Region 2? What are the rice farmers saying? What are the people saying in general? And then we have Region 3. Who was the member of parliament for Region 3? Ganesh Mahipal, right? We haven't seen Ganesh. Well, I don't know what's going on with Ganesh, but I honestly don't know. But he seemed not to have the energy as he had before. I don't know if he's going through some sort of, I don't know, but we're not seeing the energy. It doesn't mean that he's not maybe focusing, like he said, research, right? Maybe he's doing research and so forth. But we need to see more of our politicians. We need to see more of them. I don't know. Then Region 4 has several politicians. We have, there are several politicians. We have Kathy Hughes. We have a bunch of them. We have a bunch of them that we're just not seeing. We're not seeing them on the ground. For the AFC, they go on their weekly TV show and they talk, and when they done talk, they dust themselves out and they're gone. They're gone. That's it. It's done with. It's done with. they're done. Then you have Region 5. We have that youngster who's, I believe he's the vice chair. He was tied for that position with Christopher Jones. Jordan, Vince Roy Jordan, I believe. Yep, Vince Roy Jordan. We need to find out what's happening in these regions. Then Region 6, we have we have Dinesh Jaiprashad. Dinesh Jaiprashad is always busy, always getting things done. And, I oftentimes say I salute Dinesh as well. There are other fighters within the coalition, but I don't know what is holding them back from going out and getting the job done. The chief whip seemed to have lost his whip. We're hardly hearing from our chief whip. Christopher Jones has been very vibrant in not so distant past. Chief whip has been very, very busy, but we're not hearing from our chief whip now. We're not hearing from Christopher Jones. We're not hearing from these guys. There are lots of parliamentarians that we're not hearing from. I don't know what is holding them back. And again, I say, if they don't want to work, then they should just say to the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Compton Norton, that they're not up to the task. And so the leader of the opposition will do the honorable thing and remove them from Parliament. Completely remove them from Parliament and put some workers, some real workers, because what the PPP needs right now, they need real challengers, people to confront them, people who are not MPs, who are not afraid to confront them, MPs who are not bothered about how they look and so forth. Because when we have MPs who are more concerned about how they look, how they dress, as opposed to how they represent the people, then I find it to be very problematic indeed. I don't know if tonight what I'm saying makes sense, but I look at some of your comments. There's Shelley Douglas Williams. Shelley Douglas Williams is saying, yes, Christopher Jones is missing in action. Ganesh Mahipal, missing in action. They're not as vibrant as they used to be. Is somebody muzzling them? I don't know. I doubt that they're being muzzled, and I use that term not to disrespect them, because I've known Christopher Jones for many years. I saw the spirit and the energy in him. I have known Ganesh Mahipal over the course. I can't recall meeting him in person, so it's not like Ganesh and I are buddy friends, but I've always respected his bravery during the recon process. I identified him then. I said, this guy is going to be a leader. But somewhere along the line, something happened, and he's not performing as he used to before. It doesn't mean he's not doing some work. I noticed he is in the Public Accounts Committee. He was arguing on important matters, and I believe that's one aspect of getting the job done. But the bigger plan in this is confronting the PPP, not on Facebook, mind you. Ganesh Mahipal seemed to have been injured politically, just like Christopher Jones. So we're not hearing from those two once vibrant individuals. We're not hearing from more of a lot more. They're not on the ground. For example, my friend Annette Ferguson, I've got to call her out on this. Unless she did something and so forth, I would apologize. But Annette Ferguson is the shadow minister of housing. I repeat, shadow minister of housing. Leonard Ziffer. Harman was the leader of the party. Those members of parliament respected their leaders. So you can't say that he's not functioning now because his friend Harman is out. Let us not go to that level. All right. So please let us not go to that level. Oh gosh. Harman is in his retirement. Let him retire. Let him sit in his hammock and enjoy his retirement, Leonard. But I get your point, though. But getting back to the lack of representation, we need to see our members of parliament out there. Let me see. David Patterson comes up only when we hear something about GPL. Then he issues a statement to set the record straight. And then he goes back into God in heaven knows where. Patterson is gone again. Who else? Who else usually is missing in action? But I was talking about the situation in Linden. If I had my way, I'll pick up the phone and call the Honorable Shadow Minister of Housing, that is Annette Ferguson, and ask her, why aren't you in Linden? You're the Shadow Minister of Housing. You should be there in Linden to join forces with the other guys out there in Linden. Some of them are not really working, the other officials there, to go out, to come out and talk about what's happening there. She is the Shadow Minister of Housing. We need to hear from her. They need to come right out and talk about the policies and remind people how effective the housing ministry was, for the most part, right, under the coalition. We need those. We need those sort of things. We need those sort of things, and this is where sometimes they fail us. Our MPs fail us. Somebody's saying that she was there. This is Joyce Prince Kingston. Hi, Joyce. You're saying that Annette Ferguson was out there. I haven't seen her, like I've indicated. And I have also said that if, in fact, that she was out there, then I didn't see. But my apologies. But again, I didn't see her. Did you see her, Joyce? Or you're just saying that she was out there? We need, when they are out there and they do these sort of things, they need to come back and report to the people on the news. They need to issue a press release and all these manner of things. They need to call. They need to call a press conference right there in Linden with the other leaders. You know, these leaders shouldn't be and play reactionary politics with people. People's lives are at stake here, right? Who else needs to be called out? We're not hearing much from the regional chairman of Region 4, Mr. Daniel Seram. Well, good night, Mr. Seram. I don't know what is really happening with the region. We're not hearing from his deputy. We are hardly hearing from these guys. In the past, I know the regional chairman, that position, those chairmen were constantly exposing and talking about things, the ills within the society. And in Region 4, they have lots and lots of bad things happening. But we're not hearing from our elected officials, unfortunately. And they need to get up. They need to wake up. They need to start functioning, right? They just need to start functioning. I know a lot of them are going to get upset. Some of them may delete me from the WhatsApp, but it's okay. I'm not here for them to just like me only when I say something nice about them. But who else can we call out that's basically not doing much at all? Even though I can call out almost the entire list of them that's not doing much. Who else do we have? We have, well, we know the Shadow Minister of Foreign Affairs. She is on social media, so we see her sometimes on social media. At least I'm glad that we are able to see her on social media. And then we have Miss Joretta Fernandez. She is a MP representing the folks in Region 8. But we see her more on social media than in Region 8. I don't know which constituency, which region, or who really Amanza represent, which area, but we need to see these people on the ground. You know, we need to see them on the ground. And that's constructive criticism, mind you. We need to see them on the ground. We don't need to hear them on social media telling us where they're from and where they're this. And, you know, I didn't vote for them for that. I didn't. I just didn't. And if these members of parliament, if they are shadow, if they are shadow ministers and they're shadowing a particular agency, well, don't jump all over the place. Shadow what you are shadowing. Confront the issues of your particular area. Maybe, as in the case with Annette Ferguson, she is housing. Let's hear much about housing. In the case with Amanza Walton this year, she is shadowing foreign affairs. Talk to us about this visit by the president of Brazil. Talk to us. We need to hear about these sort of things. So at tomorrow's press conference, they do have a press conference. The PNCR has a press conference tomorrow, 11:30. We need substance coming out of that press conference. We need substance. We need to hear from individuals who have been silent, who've been absent. Who have been absent. Doing a quick drive-by into a particular area, as I call some of them reactionary politicians. They just go take a camera, take photographs, and they're out. But these MPs also who are representing regional MPs should represent their region, and we need to see them on the ground in their region. One of the things that the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, should do is that, and I agree with John Blackman. Apostle London seemed to be on the ground more than these people who are being paid to be on the ground. I notice Sharma Solomon is picking up some steam in Linden as well. He also is not an elected official, but it looks like most of the unelected individuals are the ones who are doing the job for the folks who have been elected to do that job, folks who are being paid to do that job. And I agree with Brenda Casey. They're not representing their constituents. They're just not representing their constituents. But what they do whenever there's a situation, they pop up quickly, ensure the camera's on them, and once they know the cameras are on them, they get their quick photo up and they leave. That's what they do. But they don't stick to what they ought to be doing and empower people, talk to the people, and lead the people. Lead them. That is what they're looking for on the ground. Leadership. They're just not getting that. All right. Somebody's asking here. Let me see. This is an interesting. Mark, we need to file a no confidence. Oh my gosh. This term, no confidence, seems to be a popular term these days. No confidence. Actually, there's in Parliament is what is called a recall legislation. And the recall legislation came about sometime in 2000, maybe 2008, 2009, sometime around. I'm not correct with the date. It's not accurate with the date, but sometime around then, when Robert Corbyn was leader of the opposition, and Robert Corbyn wanted to get rid of some of the individuals, members of Parliament. He wanted to get rid of some of the guys at Congress Place. Wanted to get rid of some of the members of Parliament and guys that he had serious problems with, or guys who had serious problems with him at Congress Place. We know who some of those individuals are. But one of them was Member of Parliament McAllister, James McAllister, right? James McAllister. James McAllister. And James McAllister was a Member of Parliament. The PNC leadership teamed up with the then president, who is now the installed president, Bharat Jagdeo, teamed up with Bharat Jagdeo and the PPP to have passed in Parliament what is called a recall legislation. It simply means that if they don't like a parliamentarian or the performance of a parliamentarian, then the party can recall. The party can recall that member of Parliament. And so the first victim The first victim of that was James McAllister. He was a member of parliament, James McAllister. He was the first victim. And I'm not sure there has been any other victim other than James McAllister. Charan Das became probably the second, but that was after he would have damaged everything for the coalition government, right? After it was damaged, then he was recalled after the fact. But poor James McAllister was recalled by Robert Corbyn, all because there was a group of them, McAllister, and you guys should know the rest of individuals, right, that were up against Robert Corbyn. So Robert sat down with Barra Jackdale and they cooked this recall legislation up. And the first victim, like I've said, was James McAllister. His history, gone, boot him out, kicked him out, done with. So there is a recall legislation, but it appears that the recall legislation is only for PNCR or now coalition. I see a former MP is correcting me here, and let me see what former member of parliament and advisor of Indigenous Affairs, Mervyn Williams, is saying here, that I'm inaccurate or something. So Mervyn says here, that's inaccurate, Mark. Corbyn did not want to get rid of anyone. He wanted to prevent persons from crossing the floor with their seats. Nadir was elected as a member of parliament for the opposition, TUF. He took his seat to the PPP when he was invited to become a minister of government. I don't think, and you know, Mervyn is a good friend of mine. I don't think that you are accurate on this point, Mr. Williams. And here's why. If that was the case, right, as to why this legislation was allowed to be passed, the recall legislation, then James McAllister was no threat to the PNC or Corbyn. James McAllister wasn't going to cross the floor, right? And the recall legislation doesn't prevent anybody from crossing the floor. They could cross the floor like Philip Bino did. Philip Bino, when he was a member of parliament for the PNCR, he crossed the floor and he sat on the PPP side. In this case, James McAllister was no threat. He wasn't crossing the floor. The recall, but I get your point that the recall legislation was, they made it appear as though that was the purpose, to prevent people from crossing the floor. But the recall legislation cannot prevent someone to cross the floor. If someone could cross the floor as quickly as possible, have a bill pass or have two bills pass, by that time, if the PPP, as they were in control of parliament, their Speaker of the National Assembly, you tell me the Speaker of the National Assembly is going to go quickly and have a recall of a PNC MP who crossed the floor, you know, to be tabled, a motion to be tabled to address that, or they're not. So the legislation is not just to prevent anybody from crossing the floor. The legislation was basically to recall some PNC members of parliament who, according to Mr. Corbyn, was misbehaving. James McAllister was one of them, according to Corbyn, who was misbehaving. And so James became a victim. And the only victim of that recall legislation, I don't know, MP Mervyn, you were there, but I'm talking specifically about the legislation. We may have different interpretations indeed, and I respect the fact that you're saying that I'm inaccurate, but I'd like to hear more of your points though, as to what is your take on that. But Poe James McAllister became a victim. But outside of that, do you know the only set of folks who were recalled from parliament? We have never heard, since that legislation came into being, we have never heard a PPP MP being recalled. Never. And that's what I'm putting to you, Mr. Marvin Williams and others. Never heard of a PPP MP being recalled. So for me, it appears that it was basically a deal between Robert Corbyn, and who was then leader of the opposition, and Barrett Jackdale, to basically keep in check those then opposition members of parliament, and give Robert Corbyn, who was then the leader of the opposition and the leader of the party, and I'm certain maybe at that time he was also leader of the list representative, right? So he had that authority to do all of the things. And it was basically, like I've said, the recall legislation was to keep in check those members of parliament for the opposition. Mind you, my interpretation, Mr. Williams, Mervyn Williams. Mervyn Williams was a fighter back then. He represented the people of Region 3. I believe he was an MP for that region. He did a heck of a lot of good things, but we no longer have that sort of energy in a lot of those members of parliament. And even James McAllister, I believe James McAllister represented Region 3 as well. They were vibrant members of parliament. They were on the ground. They were getting things done. They weren't afraid to lead any protest at all. They just weren't. But we don't have that type of politician, those type of politicians with the energy. Somebody saying that Ramjatan was recalled. Anthony Henry, I'm not going to argue with this. I am not going to argue with this. My recollection is when that Ramjatan may not have been recalled, but when they formed the AFC, because Ramjatan, they used to write a lot in the papers, right? They had a column, and he and Raphael Trotman, they wrote a lot. So when Raphael Trotman walked away from the PNC and Ramjatan walked away from the PPP, they were still members of parliament of their respective parties. And there was a bit of argument whether Ramjatan should be kicked to the curb by the PPP. I don't know, and I am not going to give my mouth liberty on the Ramjatan issue, that Ramjatan was recalled. You could be on the right track, Anthony. So I'll refrain from that for now, unless maybe my good friend Morfin can say whether Ramjatan was actually recalled or not, or if Ramjatan is listening, he can tell us whether he was recalled. But again, it looks as though the recall legislation was only designed for coalition or opposition MPs. But that recall legislation can be used for members of parliament who are downright lazy. Recall them. If the people in the region feel that they're not adequately represented, then they can come together and write to the leader of the opposition, the leader of the PNCR, to say that we have no confidence in this particular MP because we don't see them on the ground, they don't represent our interest or whatever. We would like for you, Mr. Leader of the opposition, to recall this person or that person or so forth. It is what the caller mentioned. The second caller mentioned about being organized, being proactive. That is what politics is about. It's not about sweet boy and sweet girl job, and you're afraid to speak out and call out some of these lazy individuals. It's not about that. It's about winning an elections. And you can only win an elections if you do the right thing. You cannot win an elections if you have lazy politicians, lazy representatives, sweet boy and sweet girl representatives. You cannot win an election with that. And if the coalition is serious about winning an election, and they can win it, mind you, if they get their act together. They just got to get their act together. They got to get real fighters. And maybe it's time to do some reshuffling. Maybe it's time to do some house cleaning with some of those members of parliament. Maybe it's time to kiss some of them goodbye. remove them as MPs and put others who can get the work done. Or even if those who are inactive find out the reason why they are inactive. Are they afraid to go out and speak out on issues and so forth? And I'm hoping that the leader of the opposition can have a conference, a weekend getaway, something to sit down and discuss this serious matter. They need to get back to the table of serious discussion on real representation of the people. Representation of the people is not just or not about challenging Jack Deere for a debate. We don't want no debate. Now is not the time for debate. You know, people are punishing throughout the country. Cost of living gone up. All the waste of time promises that they have made. 50,000 jobs. We're not seeing anything. All they're going in these different regions and they're promising part-time jobs. Like these PPP politicians are related to Stevie Wonder. Everything for them is part-time, or in some instances, short time, or in another instance, coming up short, very short. You know what I mean? That's all we're hearing from them. No longer anything about the 50,000 jobs that they have promised, that they have lied to the people. No longer any talk about free education at the university level, that they have promised that they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And I say the free education aspect because they're the ones who got rid of free education, right? They're the ones who took it away from the people. They don't care. They prefer to spend billions of taxpayers' money on the spendings of those big fat cats at Exxon and other companies. They prefer to give away the billions to individuals and their friends and their cronies than to say to the young people or people middle-aged or those who are heading back to school or those people who are as old as Gary Greenidge in his 70s, right, who may want to go back to school for something. Because it's never too late to go back to school. Moses Nagamoto went back to school when he was in his 60s. He's a lawyer. Robert Corbin went back to school really late. He studied law. He's a lawyer. So it's never too late. And people would, now is the time for them to address the issue of free education that was introduced under Forbes Burnham. Free education from nursery to university. Free education. All I think they asked for was some service back to their country. But thousands of them ran away. Thousands of them got their education, whatever little, or however much, and they get away. And then years after they turn back, cussing Burnham. Burnham na do nothing, Burnham this, Burnham that. Some of them become liar doctors, engineers, and all sorts of things. Because of that free education, the access to free education by Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham's administration. But them a cuss Burnham, night and day them a cuss Burnham, right? But when the PPP got into office, when they were installed by US President Jimmy Carter, guess what happened? They got rid of free education at the university level, got rid of it, introduced fees at UG. For 23 years, do you know how many young people can't repay their fees, their loans that they took to attend UG? They had an opportunity to wipe it off. The coalition should have done that. In fact, there were some of us who were calling on the coalition to wipe it off, just like Joe Biden is promising to wipe it off here. Come just before the midterm, it's going to be wiped off. Why is it in Guyana? Billions of dollars they're talking about in oil. And it's a rich country now. It seems as though our country is only rich for people who are just there to enrich themselves. And all the people, whether they're PPP supporters or coalition supporters or whomever they support, it seems as though all they're entitled to is crumbs, hampers, handouts. That is the sort of manner that these PPP politicians are treating our people. That's all they're worth. Hampers, handout, flood relief, pittance. That is all. Part-time jobs, broken promises. Meanwhile, their friends and cronies are enriching themselves with hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And they go into some communities and they gave them land titles. Say, look, you got it, we giving you land titles. Meanwhile, they go into other communities and they bulldoze the people's homes. And when they bulldoze the people's homes, they say, wait a minute, we didn't do that, even though the evidence is clear that they have done that. And they say, no, we're doing this because we want development, a project. So you bulldoze the people's place so that you can give that development, that project, to your friends and cronies. That is what it is about. But they're not going to go to Essequibo or any place else and bulldoze people's properties. They're not going to do that. They feel comfortable doing it in Linden because Linden, Region 10, is lacking real leadership. Again, I repeat, they're lacking real leadership. Some of the leaders in Linden are trying their best. Some of them. Meanwhile, one particular one is only interested in, what's his name? Darren Sears or something. Some Sears, not the chairman. I see the chairman is out and about and so forth. Mr. Adams, kudos to you, sir, but you need to be doing more. We're not seeing and hearing from the mayor and all these people. It's like the only time we see some of these people in Linden is when the PPP goes up there and they sit at the head table with the PPP gangsters them. I don't know. But I guess after tonight, I'm not going to get many friends in the coalition in terms of those who are members of parliament or in the leadership bracket. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But I sit here in our parliament standing up for the rights of the people. They need proper representation. That is all I'm saying. You give them proper representation and we all can be friends. We all can get along. This is not about hating anybody. It is not about hating Aubrey. It is not about hating the chairman, the vice chair. It's not about hating anyone. It's not about hating Amanza Walton Desir. In fact, I don't know the young lady. I've never met her. So can you hate somebody you don't even know? Right? All I'm saying is go out and do your job, people. You have been elected to do a job on behalf of the people. Do it. Spend less time on social media and more time on the ground. That is all. And I call the names not to be personal with any of them because, you know, people have this saying they love to say that somebody don't like them or this body. Oh, man of nonsense, man. Somebody's asking Sharma, Jaipal. Well, it's Jaipal Sharma, right? You're going to ask me about Jaipal Sharma. I don't know what these guys are up to, man. These guys, and Jaipal Sharma has a party in the coalition, you know. Oh, man, I don't know, man. How you going to ask me this? And then I think Sarabu Haley also has a party. Oh, Father. We need more representation of the people. Sorry, man. Sorry. I think I'm becoming older and wiser. I've been there. I've done that. Got a lot of unnecessary enemies. Getting a few more wouldn't hurt me. For the right thing. For the right thing. Because oftentimes when you speak the truth and you tell them that they got to get up and do their goddamn job, they get vexed. They get vexed. But I got to watch my energy, how I focus my energy. With this getting up there in age, I think my kids and family and good relatives and friends deserve some of my energy. Because, like, these people that we put in there to represent our interests, they're not doing it. We know the PPP is a gangster party. They don't represent the people's interest. But gosh, we're crying out loud. When was the last time you guys saw a press conference, a joint press conference between the coalition partners, AFC, APNU, or PNC, sorry, a joint press conference, all of them doing their own thing. One they saw, sit down, and I do their thing. The other one they saw, sit down, and I do them thing. A joint press conference. Show leadership, joint leadership. We need to see these things. I don't know. I've got to go, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time. I noticed earlier some folks were abusing this doctor. You know, they were abusing this doctor because they are saying that this doctor was cussing them out. Right? It is politics. You'll get abused out, you'll get cussed out. And they were ready to chew this young doctor up and throw her to the wolves. Right? Chew her up and throw her out. All because she cussed them out. But you know, her cussing them out, she has apologized. She said she knew what she was up to. And we'll talk about that some other time. But she cussed them out for a couple mornings. And they're ready to crucify her, some of them. But Moses Nagamutu cussed out the PNC for 50-something years. But they embraced Moses when Moses came. They embraced Moses. They hugged Moses up. They kissed up Moses. Moses, I'll be by, man. But a young doctor, just a couple mornings, cussed them out. And they're ready to crucify that young doctor. That young doctor, they're ready to crucify her. But let me say this before I go. When you're in the opposition, every vote counts. Every single vote counts. And sometimes the cussing that you do and you want to crucify people, for all you know, that her vote can be the deciding factor in the next elections. So be careful of how we try to crucify people when we need them. The opposition needs every vote possible, including her vote. So I'm glad that she was able to apologize. She was very upset about what is happening, but she's not the only one who plays that sort of game. She's not. You guys in the opposition, y'all need her vote. Welcome people like her who are dissatisfied with the governance of the PPP. Because come next elections, you need all of them, including my vote too. Including my vote as well. There's a song, a reggae song, something but don't throw it all away, by Courtney Melody. It's something but don't throw away your love. Don't throw it all away. Don't throw it all away. Y'all in the opposition, y'all don't throw it all away. Because if y'all throw it all away, cat is going to eat all of your dinner. Every one of you. I'll be back tomorrow. Same place, same time. And in the morning, we have the morning show with Earl, Josh, and DJ Andre. At 11:30, the PNCR has a press conference. At 11:30, we will carry that press conference live right here on 107.1 FM. I love you guys. God bless you, and God bless that beautiful country called Guyana. Sweet dreams.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Oh, now, baby, I'm begging you, baby, surely, woolly, why? Don't throw it all away, our love, my love. Don't throw it all away, our love. Don't throw it all away, our love, my love. Don't throw it all away, our love. No, throw it all away, our love, my love. Don't throw it all away, our love. Don't throw it all away, our love, my love. Don't throw it all away, our love. Baby, I don't wanna know the reason why. Lately you don't talk to me. Darling, I can't see me in your eyes. No, no, baby. I hold you near, but you're so far away. It's losing you, I can't believe. To watch you leave and let this feeling die. And I don't want this love to die. So don't throw it all away, your love, my love. Don't throw it all away, your love.